Okay, getting to go live. And these are, okay, we're live. We're live for another Tech Talks. And we have a very special guest this week. We have Leslie Dawson from the IT department. We asked her to come because we are continuing our kind of sort of series of group project, group collaboration discussions. And part of that is using some of the tools at our disposal to be able to do that collaboration and that file sharing and accessing things. So we asked Leslie to come in and share her expertise specifically about our office tools, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else you want me to say, or should we just take it away?
No, absolutely. So today I'm just going to talk a lot about Microsoft 365. And so this is something that both our faculty, staff, and our students can utilize. And so it's a great way to share documents and create a working space that you can do in projects or build on as you are wanting to save information that other people can access in the future. And so I think the first thing I'm going to do is kind of show, I'm not sure how many people are aware that students have free access to the Microsoft Suite as a student. So I'm going to kind of jump in there and then we can go from there on how to work together in that environment.
Great.
Perfect.
Are we sharing screen right now?
Not yet. Let me jump to.
You can rotate this a little bit, get you in the.
Yeah, sorry.
Come on in. Okay. And so I think,
Did we just share?
do I share sound or no?
Didn't need to
No.
play a video, right?
No, none of that.
Then yeah, just share right there and you should.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, you're still not in there.
I'm so sorry. I like sat
Moving my
sat
car,
in
so
the
I
farthest
think I'm
corner.
okay. There we go.
I'm always causing.
Perfect. Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna try and kind of drag this down a little bit. It's very annoying when it does that. So, okay, perfect. So like I said, students, they have access to Office 365, and then anybody else, I always use this personally as well. It's a quick and easy way from either any of the websites to access 365. So I just jump into the drop down for the student tools. And if you scroll down, you actually have access to Office 365 right through here. And so this is the way that I generally jump in and access it.
And it logged you straight in, but if you aren't already logged in, it's just your email and password?
Yes, so you will use your CCS credentials or your SFCC credentials. Students will use their Bigfoot email. And so that's how you would log in to Office 365. And what it will do is when you enter in your email address, it will say that it's taking you to your organization. And then from there, you would enter in your password. As you know, we are doing multi-factor authentication. And so it will prompt you then to authenticate in a different environment, whether it's your cell phone or through email or one of those ways that you've set up your access. So no different in terms of like how you would get into your Office 365. You can also just type in Office 365. So if I just go even to Office, it's going to do this to me. Anyway, if you go there, you can click to log in that way as well. If you forget, just type it in the Office and then you can jump right back into it. So it'll take you in there multiple ways. The nice thing about Office 365 is that you can actually log on any device. And so you don't have to have your actual like school laptop. Maybe you're visiting family and you jump onto their desktop environment. You're able to go ahead and access these files from anywhere on any device, and that you know that they're secure. And so one of the things that we're really trying to emphasize is security for our data. And so we know that through the cloud, this is a great way to collaborate, but know that the information is always going to be secure. So
I can imagine probably if students are using it too, it's on the cloud, just like as you're working on your stuff in this space. A lot less of the lost my homework, joining an extension, that kind of element.
I can't find the charger in my laptop. Well, you can get it from any lab computer on campus. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that there's a lot of students who are familiar with and use Google Documents because it really does mirror sort of the Office products. However, I always encourage students to get in and use Microsoft Office as well because it is sort of the standard in a working environment.
So it's like a literacy component.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why I think it doesn't hurt to like move away from Google Documents and be able to utilize the tools that we have here because it helps students be set up for success in the future as well. So yeah. So one of the nice things about when you get into Office 365 is that you really have all of the tools at your discretion. And the way that you find those is you just jump right over here to the waffle. I just call it our little waffle.
Okay, I like
All
it.
right.
I like that.
Yeah, and so once you click into that, it's actually going to give you access to all of the different applications that Office offers. And so for your students, if you want them to be building a spreadsheet or a Word document, they can do it right in here. And it really mirrors, there's a little bit more functionality in a desktop environment, but essentially for most of the work that our students are going to be doing, this really mirrors the desktop environment. And so I would just encourage them to go in and get involved in kind of using Microsoft Office products. And so another thing that I'm going to go to first is our OneDrive environment. So this is where we were talking about, I can't access my homework because it's on my laptop and I can't charge my laptop. So situations like this.
I lost my thumb drive and
Yep.
it's documents were on my thumb drive.
Yep, absolutely. So students, if they want to start saving their information on their OneDrive, the same way faculty and staff do, that information is always accessible to them as soon as they log on to a device. And so this is another great way to really be efficient in the work and the way that you are operating. And so as you can see, I've dropped into my OneDrive. Microsoft is pretty cool in that it generally will pull up the things that you use most often. And so if you see up here, these are sort of suggestions that I've been working on pretty regularly. So Microsoft is thinking, you might want to look at these things. And so these are nice to have. And then it really breaks it down for you below in terms of what are your most recent documents. You can jump into, I only want to look at my Word documents. So from a search perspective, and then you can also jump right into here and you can just start typing in what you think you named a document and it will pull it up for you.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. And so really, it's a great way to manage your documents and to save your information. Again, it's on the cloud, so it's safe and it's secure at any time. If you wanted to add a new document to any of these areas, you can simply just add new, and it's going to say, okay, what do you want to start working on? So another way that you can just jump in and start working in this space. And then you can go right here to my files, and it's actually going to give you a nice display of all of the files that you have in your OneDrive broken out by folders. And then also, if you haven't saved them into a folder, it's just going to have the documents listed right here.
So that would be like if I was in OneDrive, I go to the waffle, I click into Word, and just make a new Word document.
Yep.
It just kind of files it in that kind of no
In that,
man's
I
land.
haven't put it in a folder yet, unless
Gotcha.
when you click Save As, and
It'll
then you
push
can put it where it wants, where you
Gotcha.
want it to be.
So if I was like building a course and I'm building course materials, probably be a good idea to start that structure early on. So I don't end up having to search through, filter through.
Are the search capabilities and the search capacities of Microsoft
great.
are really
Okay.
incredible. And so again, if I wasn't sure what I was looking for, if I typed in here, it's going to show me my most recent things here, but also you could start typing in a title that you know you've named something, and it'll list everything that
Nice
has
code.
any
Does
of
it
those.
search the content of the files as well, or just the file name?
Just file names at this level.
Okay.
Yeah. If we were jumping into something like a SharePoint environment, then it could go deeper,
got it.
in terms of like looking at actual documents. But, on this level, it's gonna pull up any folders or any documents in it and whatnot. And then another nice thing that I like to do is, so utilizing things like modified, if you're looking for something from a long time ago, maybe you want to change it to be able to go and search from older to new. And of course, I sort of have set some things up to show how we can collaborate and share. And so I want the most recent thing, which I set up the sample course right here. And so now I'll kind of jump into like sharing and that more collaborative kind of environment. And so as you can see, what I've done here is I've created the sample course. And if you notice, I have a different folder color. And so for me, sometimes like when I'm organizing things, color coordinating really helps me quickly identify what I'm looking for. And so maybe I'm teaching let's see, I'm trying to think of like a biology 100 level course and a biology 200 level course. And so I want to know where those level courses are by their color. So I could quickly come in here and I could just, what did I name that? Cancel. I'm going to call this sample 2 course. Spell it right. And then I will just change the color on this one. And now I'll create that folder. And so any of my working, like you were talking about, as you're filling out curriculum, all of your documents that you're working on can reside in this actual folder. And so it's super helpful to just kind of like line it out that way.
Color coordinate by year, by course.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of ways you can jump in and do it. So now I'm going to jump into my sample course here. Obviously, this is all of the things. So this is probably some folder that really I only want to have access to.
Okay.
Maybe if I'm co-teaching, I would share this folder with others. But generally, when I talk about OneDrive, you're thinking of one as in one person accessing, unless we're going into a collaborative environment. And so I'm going to open my sample course here, and you'll see that at this level, I've added this team red. So now I'm thinking of, let's say I have a course that now I've broken my core, the students in the course into different teams, so different colors of teams. And so now I have a folder where anything that Team Red's going to be working on, they can actually do in this location. Okay, so just kind of breaking it out and thinking of how can we collaborate in this environment.
Gotcha.
All right, so now how can I make so that students can actually access this? So that's where we're at this level. So I'm going to go in here, and right here, this has a couple of different names. I call it the ellipsis, but a lot of people call it the 3-dot menu. I've even heard it called meatballs. But anyway, I'm going to go into here, and this is where I can start deciding who's going to be able to access this and what level of access that they can jump into it. So as you can see, I have right here where I can share, but I can also go a little bit deeper and I can manage access right here. So once I jump into this, it's going to give me a bunch of options, and I'm also going to be able to see who is in here and who needs to be, or did that student drop? I need to pull them out of this course. So there's ways that you can go in and make changes and update everything. Obviously, I'm the owner of this, and I haven't given any permission to anybody to jump in and use it. So I can see that it's really just me.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you were going to add, let's say, like this was a department level folder, and you were adding everybody into your department, you can do that just by adding the Active Directory group name.
Oh, okay.
You know, and so you can just add that group,
So
and
it just
it'll
pulls that from the directory
Yep.
they use in Outlook.
Yep,
When you're emailing your department, it'll
absolutely.
be the same thing.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. So But we're gonna stay on the sharing at a person level. And we're gonna think about this in terms of, this is something I only want the students to be able to look at and read, but not make changes to it. So now we're kind of getting into, how do we want to set up this access? And this is where you can make the changes right here, okay? And so you have 3 different options on how you would want a student to be able to see this. The first is that they can edit it. So anybody that you give access to, they can jump into this document or into this folder and they can make changes. At a folder level, you're giving them the ability to actually delete documents. And so I would not grant access, especially in a classroom environment, on a folder level.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What if you want students to be able to add content to that folder that they need to have edit access? To be able to
Yes, to add
Okay.
content, they would have to. So just something to keep in mind. I don't know that a lot of students are gonna be jumping in and like completely deleting. The nice thing is if they delete, you can actually go back in and look at deleted files, so it
And
doesn't.
probably who deleted it
Yeah,
too. right?
absolutely, yep.
So I'm trying to imagine a use case here. If I were an instructor and I was teaching a group project of some sort, and I had, like you have your red team, blue team, green team, I had folders for each student group.
Yep. Mhm.
And I wanted them to be submitting their work into that folder. I want them to have their collaborative documents. I want them to put their research, maybe videos.
Yep.
I want to put them in that folder. In that case, I would want to give those students edit access to their team folder.
Yes,
But I wouldn't want to give them edit access to the parent folder for the whole team.
Correct.
Because then potentially they could delete another team's folder.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
I think I get it.
Yep, yeah. So it really is kind of thinking through, like, what do they need to do?
Mm.
Okay, and then at that point, so if it is a working project where people are gonna be adding documents and resources and things like that, absolutely, you would say that they could do that.
And that makes me think also in these group environments, you have your like template almost of what files are going to be in this folder, kind of like I don't know, your planning folder. And you go, okay, I feel like these are good. Now I'll copy each of these files into these team folders. So I always have this just in case something's deleted, or I'm going to be using it next term and I just want to have a fresh version to copy over. And then I have my individual teams that then I give access to as needed. Kind of.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's like I see what you mean. Where
There's
it's like,
levels of access.
make sure you're planning a lot of this beforehand because the structure is very important.
The nice thing is if you, let's say you said that, this folder, anybody can access, you can go and change access. So you can
Gotcha.
change their access to a smaller group. You can remove them from the group. So it's really nice that you can really, so I'm just gonna drop
Adjust it as you can.
Caleb in.
And I did notice you just typing Caleb in to find him. Can you do that with students as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you
Yep.
know the students in your course, you
Yep.
can just go boom, 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 boom.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's super
That is
helpful.
helpful, yeah.
So,
So
I'm
it
just-
can be very specific too.
Yeah.
These are people in this group, and then you don't have
Yep.
somebody accidentally jumping into team red.
The only error I think that sometimes happens, because I know that there's other Leslies on
Mhm.
campus, but not that many. Sometimes I get dropped into like meetings and things because they don't actually look at last name. They start typing Leslie and the person, so just a
Just double
word
check
of
the
caution.
Full name, make sure you have.
Yeah.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can you search by student ID? Probably not.
No,
because it's
mm-mm.
Specific to the
Yeah,
applicant.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's really pulling from not CTC link so much as the Active Directory, and
Gotcha,
Active
which is all-
Directory runs off of like their email address.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah.
That seems pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
So if you had their email address, that would be like the surefire way. What's your Bigfoot email?
Yep.
And then I can push
Yep.
it.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So this
That's
is
good.
one way that you can add access. And so now I've added you guys as edit. I can also then add different people who can just see it. I can add those names.
I
So
love this level of flexibility.
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's a
Mhm.
by individual share settings. It's not everybody in the group can edit or not edit. You can do it for individual.
Yeah,
This person is an
absolutely.
observer, this person is an editor.
Will you go back to the meatballs?
Yeah, here's your meatballs. Yeah.
And
Meatball.
then if you click manage access,
You
again,
bet.
I just want to take a look at something. So if you go to links, if you were to add differentiated permissions there, right? So some people can edit, some people can only view, they would all show up as the different links in those areas. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, and so this, I don't generally go into my manage access
Mhm.
until and if I need to delete or change access.
Gotcha.
I'm just showing you that this is one of the ways to do it.
Gotcha. So that's the really pinpointed, I have a very specific interaction in mind.
Yep.
I need to make sure permissions are set
Oh.
accordingly.
If you are just wanting to, so I'm gonna jump into Team Red here because I've added a couple of like sample things in here as well. So if I wanted to now go to a level where so this is a share button right here, okay? And then you also have your meatballs or ellipsis or whatever you want to call it,
Okay. So
which you can share here as well. Like you will see this in pretty much any application that you're working in to share. So then I can click on my share button. It comes up and it looks a little bit differently, right?
Okay. And you could have also done this at that top level folder.
Correct,
Okay.
yep. And now again, here are my different options right here. And I'm gonna say, like, Caleb, I only want him to be able to look at it, but not actually download it.
Mhm.
So sometimes you don't want people to be able to download a document, just to be able to look at it.
Sure.
And so that's one of the things I recommend is just kind of making sure from an access point. Now, there's two ways that you can share this out. The first way is you can type a little message and you can send invite.
And then I'll get an
And
email.
you will get an email with the link.
And the student would have the exact same interaction.
Absolutely, yep, the students would get that invite as well. But if you wanted to, let's say, draft an email with instructions to the student as to what they're gonna be doing in this folder and those kinds of things. At that point, you can actually copy this link, okay? And it pretty much says right here, so that it's double checking with you, do you have your sharing settings correct? So people in your organization with the link can view it, but they can't download it. Yep, that sounds right to me. So that's gonna be what this link is. Now it's copied. Now I can put this into an email. I can drop it into a Teams message. There's all sorts of ways that
You could also post it in Canvas
Yep.
as an announcement or a link. If so you could make an announcement in your Canvas course saying, we are now beginning this project. Here's the link to all of our reference documents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you have your students have access to it that way.
Gotcha.
absolutely. Yep,
And so you would probably need to do a new link with different permissions for each
Absolutely.
group. So
Yep.
you've just done the one for Caleb, you got him pretty locked down.
yeah.
But then if you toggle to the next one,
And then if I had it, so this would
Gonna be
be like in my red folder, this is a document everybody can be editing and
Gotcha.
adding and changing information.
and that does bring up something for me. Is there a way to like just make a generic link? Like, am I always gonna have to invite the entire class to a document? Or is there a way that I can just, hey, this is just an open document. Anybody in our organization can view it. Here's the link. Like, is there a way to just do something really generic like that? So I don't always have to put Caleb and Melanie and Nick and my entire class into the permissions.
Let me think.
What if we didn't put a name up there and we just went to like copy link in this case? Could that be a generic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So that's the link that you share with the whole class.
Yeah.
You could even
Okay.
put that in, an advantage of doing it that way is could reuse that link in those documents at quarter after quarter.
Especially if
Yeah.
they're view only.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to re-add your class roster into OneDrive or
Right,
the
yeah.
Office. You could just share a link in the class,
Got it.
copy the class into the next quarter's class, and that link will continue to
Yeah.
work.
Absolutely.
And then maybe they can copy that document into their own OneDrive instance and share with their own.
I mean, there's all kinds of
Yeah,
ways.
Right.
all sorts of, so that's interesting. Cool.
So some other collaborative ways. So obviously I pulled in a document, like just a Word document.
Mhm.
There's also a whiteboard. So if you had like a whiteboard that you wanted people to be dropping in information and setting it up, they'll log in to the whiteboard app and then they can utilize it and access it that way.
And that
This
could be-
is probably a good replacement for, a lot of people used to use Google Jamboard.
Mhm.
Right.
And Google
Mhm.
discontinued that service, and so this is,
Yes, this essentially
Basically the same thing.
is like I can go in, if I wanted, so I just use this one, but there's a lot of different templates that you can use
Gotcha.
and create for different, functions that you would
I think
need.
we're gonna have to do a tech talk about.
Well,
the
I
whiteboard.
was gonna say,
Okay.
because I've used it a couple of times, it's kind of a cleaner layout than Zoom's whiteboard. They recently came out with one, which is kind of handy if you're in a Zoom meeting, but you're not always in class in a Zoom meeting, and having a quick link that you can just, here's a recording from today, and oh, here's also our whiteboard for class today, and here's all that group activity you were doing. Like you can make a lot of enduring resources with it. And again, I love the templates that it's got. Zoom's also got templates, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
these
might
are
have to
clean.
explore,
They're
we'll have to explore that
Yeah.
in
Really
further
cool.
detail later.
Another, I think, really collaborative way to work is OneNote. And so OneNote, you probably would want to do a tech talk on also, but what I'll say about OneNote is it essentially is it a digital binder.
I am a big fan of OneNote.
OneNote is, and so for like classes that are working, on a project, this could be where each person would have their own color, so you could see who was adding, content and the collaboration and whatnot. So OneNote is also a great collaborative tool.
Sounds like we'll have to do one on that.
I like that. I hadn't thought about
Yeah.
using it for collaboration. I use it for my notes sometimes.
Absolutely. So,
I like it.
yeah, it really is. And then also because I think a lot of presentation situations where people are having to build presentations. So PowerPoint is also another, pretty functional one that people use pretty often. So I know I'm almost out of time.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing I want to kind of talk about is that in your documents, so right now it's not showing up because nobody's changed anything on this document. But once somebody has added or changed the information in the document, it logs that and saves the previous version. And so it's called versioning.
Hmm.
And so if somebody went in and like accidentally dumped in a different report, you can open that back up and go to a previous version without losing, your content, which is really nice, especially in a shared location where you don't want somebody to like completely change the document inadvertently, and then you've lost everything because it auto saves.
So it's a safety feature in case somebody accidentally deletes or overrides something, but it's also a useful tool for, in the last couple tech talks, when we talk about group projects, a big part of that is accountability.
Yeah. Yep.
Who's contributing what, who's,
Mhm.
what workload is appropriate for each student.
Yeah,
And if you have
can
this
see that.
version history, it's really easy to tell who has done what in the
And you can
document.
quickly see it through this modify by, so you
Okay.
can see the last person's minutes,
Yeah,
so that's super helpful as well.
I would also add, just, this is a bit of an aside, but version history is also a good tool to use against AI generated text. Because AI generates the whole text all at once. But if you're a human being who's writing a document or a paper or a reflection, you're writing it over time, and version history will keep track of those changes over time. And it's good evidence that it was made by a real person.
Yeah, I've actually used that in some cases, when an instructor comes to me with a concern about plagiarism, like I totally use that tool and it's worked. I've also used it when I totally deleted my own stuff and been like, oh my gosh, where was that PowerPoint? Where did I put all that information?
Yeah.
So I love that. Great.
This is just kind of the very like,
Super surface level, but I think it's very helpful. I don't think
good.
a lot of people realize all the things they could be doing with Office 365 and that students can be doing with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great introduction.
Great.
Anything else you want to touch on before we call it a day?
No, I think if anybody wants to reach out, they can just reach out to me directly if they have specific questions, because I'm happy to like direct them and kind of guide them.
That's
through
amazing.
something.
Wonderful. And I'm sure we can fill in any gaps about implementing Canvas, how students can send you links, how you can kind of make that interaction really natural in your course. But this is exciting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Leslie,
you for
thanks for
having me.
joining us. Yeah, this is great. I think we're gonna have to bring you back at some point and maybe talk about some of these other tools.
Yes.
I think we got some stuff to put on our list.
There's some good stuff in here.
All right, I'm gonna end the live stream. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Was this our last
This is
one?
our last one for the term.
Last one for the term, because then in a couple of
it's
weeks,
spring term.
then it's spring term. Pretty soon. So
Good luck
Thanks
with
so
finals.
we'll, yeah,
Yes.
we'll be back in spring quarter with more tech talks.
Yep.
Super.
Thank you all so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Mhm.
All right, there we are.